The storm outside the crash pod raged like a living thing. Wind screamed across the barren canyon, flinging shards of sand and rock that battered against the metal hull. The temperature dropped so fast frost etched the windows in seconds. If we stayed outside, we'd freeze or be shredded apart. I glanced across the cramped survival shelter at her, the alien girl. Her name was Solara, though she spoke it with a sound my human tongue couldn't quite capture. She was tall, lithe, her skin a strange pale shimmer that reflected faint blues and silvers when the light caught it. Her eyes were wide, not unlike a wolf's, with vertical slits that dilated against the dim. She wasn't supposed to be here. Neither was I. The Starship Resolute Dawn had gone down only hours earlier. A miscalculation, sabotage, maybe both. It didn't matter. Half the crew were dead, the other half scattered across this death world. I had managed to eject in a crash pod, and by some twist of fate, so had she. We weren't friends. Not yet. She was one of the alien exchange recruits, part of a fragile alliance between humanity and her people, the Kirin. She kept to herself on the ship, silent, wary, always cold like she expected betrayal. I had spoken to her maybe twice before the crash, and now she was the only one I had. The pod wasn't meant for two. The heating unit sputtered, barely functional. Rations were thin, and worst of all, there was only one thermal sleeping bag. As the wind howled, I tried to ignore the way my hands shook. Not from fear, from cold. Solara noticed. Her sharp gaze tracked every shiver. "You'll die if your body drops another degree," she said. Her voice was calm, but her alien accent made the words cut like crystal. "Yeah," I muttered. "Guess I should have packed 2 sleeping bags." She tilted her head. "Do you intend to offer yours?" I hesitated. The idea felt absurd. But the truth was plain. Sharing body heat was the only way we'd survive until rescue or sunrise. My mind raced with a dozen awkward possibilities, but survival had no room for modesty. I cleared my throat. "We'll freeze if we don't. So you can share it with me." For a long, unbearable moment, she just stared. Then, without a word, she moved. Middle, the unexpected choice. Solara slipped into the bag beside me with a fluid grace. Her body radiated a faint warmth, far stronger than humans. The air was immediately less biting. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. But then, she did something I didn't expect. Instead of lying stiffly beside me, keeping her distance, she pressed close. Her arms slid over my chest, her legs tangled with mine. She cocooned us in the thermal lining as if instinct demanded closeness. I froze, heat rising in my face despite the cold. This is necessary," she interrupted, her voice soft but firm. "Kirin do not waste warmth. Contact increases efficiency." I swallowed. Right. Efficient. But it wasn't just warmth. She rested her head against me, her breath slow and steady. The storm raged on, but inside the pod there was only her closeness, her alien scent of ozone and spice, her heartbeat pulsing faintly against my ribs. "You are smaller than I imagined," she murmured after a while. I blinked. "Smaller. Kirin males are broader, denser. You are not, but you are resilient. You survived the crash, and you offered to share." It wasn't a compliment. Not exactly. But there was something in her tone, something I hadn't heard from her before. Not suspicion. Not hostility. Something else. "Thanks," I said quietly. Silence fell again, except it wasn't empty. It was thick, charged, like the air before lightning. And then, another surprise, Solara laughed. Soft, breathy, but unmistakable. "What's funny?" I asked. "You humans," she said, her golden eyes glinting. "You make everything awkward. Warmth is warmth, yet you flush red like a child." I couldn't help it. I laughed too. Guess I'm just not used to this. Her gaze lingered on me. Perhaps you should be. Survival and trust. The storm lasted through the night. We barely slept, but we survived, pressed together in that small bubble of warmth. Over the next days, we built a routine. We scavenged what little the pod had. I rigged up a signal beacon from the damaged transmitter, though it sputtered more often than it worked. She hunted small creatures that skittered across the canyon floor, quick as shadows. She moved with predatory precision, bringing back food I wouldn't have dared to touch. At night, when the cold returned, we shared the sleeping bag again. Each time, the closeness became less strange, less survival, more something else. One night, as we lay tangled together, she asked, "Why did you offer?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" "You could have kept it to yourself. You would have lasted longer, perhaps until rescue. But you offered. Why?" I thought about it. The truth was simple. Because I couldn't watch you die. Her expression softened in the dim glow of the pod's emergency light. She studied me for a long time, as if trying to read something beneath my skin. Then she whispered, almost herself, "Unexpected." The rising threat. Rescue didn't come. Days stretched into weeks. Our supplies dwindled. But the real danger wasn't hunger or cold. It was them. On the 12th night, we heard the screech of engines echoing through the canyon. Raiders, not rescuers. The kind who picked through wrecks for salvage, and slaves. Solara stiffened, claws extending from her fingers with a faint metallic scrape. "They'll kill you. Take me." "Not if we fight," I said. She looked at me like I was insane. 2 against a dozen. I fought worse odds. And so we prepared. I rigged traps with what was left of the pod's wiring. She coated her claws with venom from one of the native creatures she'd killed. We waited in silence, pressed together in the dark like we had been so many nights before, only this time, not for warmth, for courage. When the raiders came, the fight was brutal. The pod shook with blasts. We struck from the shadows. She was a storm of claws and fury. A soldier once again, firing, dodging, striking where it hurt. In the end, we drove them off, but not without cost. My arm was burned, seared deep by a plasma shot. I collapsed in the sand, the heat of battle fading into pain. Solara dropped beside me, her eyes wide with something I'd never seen before. "Fear, you'll die," she whispered. "Not if you keep me warm." I managed to grin, though blood filled my mouth. She snarled in frustration, but then, unexpected again, she pressed her forehead to mine, her strange heartbeat drumming fast. "Do not die, human. You are mine now." The ending, rescue. We lasted 3 more days. My arm barely healed, thanks only to her strange poultices. She refused to let me lift a finger, carrying food, dragging debris, even wrapping me in the sleeping bag when I grew too weak. On the 4th morning, the beacon flared to life. A rescue ship descended, a flood of light breaking the endless night. Humans and Kirin alike poured out, gathering us in relief. But as they led us aboard, Solara didn't let go of my hand. Later, in the med bay, as they treated my burns, she sat beside me, silent, watchful. When the medics left, she leaned close and whispered, "You offered me warmth. You gave me more than survival. I will not forget." I smiled, exhausted but alive. "So, what you did next, after I offered, was it unexpected?" Her lips curved in the faintest smile. "No, it was inevitable."